listeners. Welcome to another episode of JKL Media Reviews. This is our The Expanse series, and today we are talking about season one, episode seven, Windmills, which is on the whole theme of Don Quixote. As everyone knows, he was tilting at windmills. And it is a pretty apt description for this episode as far as Joe goes. He seems to be our Don Quixote amalgam character in this episode. I'm gonna introduce my co-hosts, and as I introduce them, have them say their first thoughts. Go, Lou.
Okay, so I'm actually more interested to hear your guys' thoughts because to me, this is the episode where we really start to get into some of the main characters. And it's also the episode where we get the first glimmer of a potential crossover between storylines. So I enjoyed this one quite a bit, and I like the Christian storyline where she visits Holden's
Holden's mom, yeah.
home
Yeah.
home in Montana. So I thought this was it's a quiet episode generally, but it's a good character building episode.
Cool. And hello, Jesse. How are you this morning? What are your quick thoughts?
Yes, is it Donkey Balls? I was looking
Yep.
to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love this episode and I can't wait to break it down with you. I would say that the discussions at the farm were some of my favorite scenes, but I just everything about it, all three storylines really moved, and I'm got very happy that we're doing in this deep dive.
Awesome. Okay, I kind of want to talk about the farm and Christian and Holden's mom first. This was, I think, the most impactful part of this episode with a quietness to it. I was left feeling like we had two moms really bearing their soul without actually bearing their soul, if that makes sense to you guys. But I'm going to start with you, Jesse. What did you think of that and how did you feel?
So the actress who plays Holden's mom
Frances
was,
Fisher.
yeah, was also really good in another series we covered, Watchmen. She
Hmm?
was Watchmen. And so she's a really powerful actress. And when you put Frances Fisher with Shorin Agarashi, the actress who played Christian, this is, oh wow, we've really got like two great tennis players. We're just volleying back and forth. So I loved watching them. I could have had a whole episode of just them just talking. And we've talked about that before sometimes, like with Severance, when we had that dinner table with Christopher Walken and the others too. This is just amazing. And the scene where I on my deathbed, I will still be hoping that someone's going to tell me it was a mistake, that my son is really alive, was such a powerful scene. And I'm also fascinated. I would love a spin-off of the idea of this group family. A couple of Robert Hyland books covered that, the idea of group families. And her Elise saying, he's all of ours, but I'm the one who actually bore him. He's from my flesh. And the idea that she loves them and Christians going, you guys just did this so that you would have this generational pull on the land. And there's this whole backstory that I want to know more about, like how they're living close to the land and all this political drama about that. It's just wonderful watching these two great actors, as I said, volley. It was when the idea, I thought we were finished with the bullshit and the back
Hmm.
and forth. Just you sit there and go, sometimes we're just lucky to be able to see this and enjoy these performances that feel so real. And I also think it gave Christian just a little bit more likability, not totally, but once again, I'll go just on one little thing. Up until this current administration and the one before when President Trump was running things, I don't think there's ever been a president who didn't do everything he could to make this country better. Now, you
Mm,
may not agree with what they're deciding to do and why they're doing it and how they're doing it, but I have no doubt of their intentions. And Christians' intentions are to help Earth. Now, if she can get power in the meantime, that's great. But her main reason is I am going to help Earth survive and come on top. And I adore watching her, even when I
me
don't
too.
like her sometimes.
Yeah, and I think almost secondary to that, before power, is getting revenge for her son's death.
Yes.
Because I feel like that's a very motivating factor for her in
Yeah.
this instance, at least.
Yes.
I think in her normal operating life, it would be power second, but for
Yeah.
this, it's power third because I think she sees the opportunity in
Yeah.
this. If it's okay, Lou, I want to give my thoughts and then I'll let
Sure.
you
Yeah.
go. Okay.
Go for it. Yep.
I adored this scene, these scenes. There were a couple actually. Number one, Frances Fisher. I agree with you. She's amazing. She lived down the street from me essentially because I wouldn't say dated. She was together with Clint Eastwood and they lived in Carmel. It's not down the street. I'm being hyperbolic, but
Yeah.
30 miles. So I feel kind of anytime you share a space with someone, you feel the kind of kinship. I don't know if it's the same for you, but you like follow things that they do and things like that. And every time I see her, I feel like, hey, that's cool. She's in something else. And she is so celebrated too. I would say underrated, but I think people recognize her and her talent. One of the things I really love about her is that she's not afraid to look bad. And it's evident here that she shows up, her hair's a mess, she's not wearing makeup, she is not a glamorous person in this. She is a farmer. And in order to do that, she doesn't care what she looks like. She's gonna be that person. And that's true in whatever role she takes. She embodies that person. I 100% believe that she's a farmer, and that's difficult to get with someone as beautiful as she is. She's gorgeous. And then the talk between the two, I felt like if they had dropped their walls a little bit, which they will never do around each other, they would recognize they have a kinship together, being mothers of people that are doing something or have done something that brings their parents pride first, and then it turns to fear. And I've never been a parent, never will be a parent. So there are some things I don't identify with that don't stick with me. But in this case, it was hard not to feel that because they're both so emotive. And I loved their God, I hate to call it banter too. The words are irrelevant to their conversation. It was banter where, oh, cut the bullshit. And then Christian throwing it back at her. I thought we were cutting the bullshit. And I love that on some level they get each other. And I feel like maybe Christian left with a little respect for her, where I think when she got there, she was like, okay, these are just farmers. I'll get whatever I need out of them. And she left thinking, This is, she's a smart cookie. She's more than she appears on the surface. And when you compare, when I mentioned before that she's not afraid to look bad, Frances Farmer, the stark difference between the two women of Christian being really polished and sophisticated, and Frances Farmer's character being not, but just as smart, just as street smart, book smart, everything. It's fantastic. And we see that in the little touches where she's got Don Quixote sitting out, which again is part of the theme. And it's a quote unquote real book, a paper book, where Christian seems a little fascinated by it. And I think they're really showing that these two women are equals. It doesn't matter what standing they have in society, they're equals to each other. And Christian left, I think, unsettled and maybe understanding Holden a little more, but also not, because I don't think his mother understands him as much as she'd like to. So anyway,
And
super complicated.
yeah,
Go ahead.
and before you jump in, Lou, it's a cliche, but there is true that in another lifetime we could have been friends. That's said often in stories, but I think you're absolutely right to hit that they are more alike than they are dissimilar, and I just love their connection between that.
Yeah. Okay.
Now
As
that
much
we've
as I
talked it
rambled.
out, yeah,
Yeah.
Lou.
How about you, Lou?
I I think yeah, both of your points were fantastic. I think you both really got the gist of what was going on here. For me, the only things I can really add is I look at these two women as two different sides of the same coin.
Yeah.
Either each one is the path that the other not chose not to take. Christian forced her son into the military and he ended up dead. Elise let her son go or told him to run, and he's still alive, but he is still looking for his purpose in life because he was expecting to be on a certain path to take over the family farm, if you will. But now he's had that taken from him and he's trying to find his place. And so the whole Don Quixote traveling theme is at play here. I do agree that I think that Christian was expecting a farmer, I guess you could say in quotes, and really found an equal who, as you just said, Jesse, in another life they could have been friends. And it's too bad that this character likely will not be seen again because I think, as you said, Jesse, they really play well off of each other. It's a great tennis match. It really works when you have the dialogue that goes with it. They call each other on their bullshit. I think, and it's a character, it's a trait of the show to intercut between storylines. But I think in this particular episode, they should have left those two scenes or those scenes with the women. They should have done it on one long, uninterrupted
Hmm.
flow because it just was every time you start to get into a thing. And I know the old show business matter always leave them wanting more. But the problem was with those scenes, it was undercutting the emotional undertone. So then you had to build it back up again every time you came back to it. So I, in retrospect, rewatching this episode, I really would have liked it if their scenes would have been one long, uninterrupted piece of the episode. And I've mentioned this on other podcasts about other shows. I always love it when a scene or a moment accomplishes multiple things. And I think that this scene does. We learn a lot more about Holden. We learn a lot more about Christian. And I think that this specific particular piece of the episode is very important from that piece. And we see the after or the inferences that we're drawing from these scenes, we see them being played out in the other scenes with Holden and what he's like, in particular, what he does with Amos or tries to do with Amos. He's got problems with authority, but he's also a idealist. So really that interplay that's going on between those threads. And the last thing I'll say, and this is just a subjective artistic response is I did love the scene when they showed Christian walking up to the house through the snow in her red garb. Though when I
Oh,
was watching it, I said, why didn't you just walk up the driveway? But still, it was a beautiful shot. And I understand why they did it. But yeah, I just think I think this is a pivotal episode for understanding some of the characters. And I'm glad that you both picked up on that.
Awesome. I would like to think that she wanted Elise to know she was coming well ahead of time. She was announcing her arrival before she got there, and you could not miss her
No.
in that red cape. God, she
Yeah.
was gorgeous in this
Mhm.
episode. I love even the little beats of her taking the earphone out, looking back at the hovering
Drone or whatever it was.
drone. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just every piece of this was a masterpiece almost.
Mm.
Gorgeous. Just
Beautiful house
beautifully
too.
shot.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Beautiful house too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, everything. And I do think you also get some of the other side of what goes on Earth too, because we haven't seen that dynamic of people trying to defend their land. That was something new as well. So just a lot of stuff in that, which is why I wanted to cover that first. I almost think there's more in that little part of the episode than what goes on with Joe, which is what we're going to go to next. I want to save the Ante for last. So Joe is at loose ends, we'll say, in this episode. He doesn't have access to some of the things he has had access to in the past, which means he has to break down Julie's door to get in. He sees a few things that are what he decides are signs that he should continue on his path. He goes to visit our villain, which, now that he is going to be off the ship, I'm going to be sad if we don't get Anderson Dawes for a while. I'm also, when you said we're not going to see Elise again, that makes me sad too. I would have loved to see more interplay between her and Christian, even if it's a tiny little bit. But yeah, Joe goes to see Dawes, and that scene is tense as well. He sees his friend, I can't remember her name, the other cop.
Octavia?
Thank you, Octavia, yes. He calls her Tavi or something, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Who he's had a relationship with. It shows that she's loyal to him. She's ready to drop everything and go with him, but he is not willing to put her in that position. And leaving the hat at the end, I thought was pretty represent representative of his whole demeanor. That he's not that anymore. He is someone on a mission.
Can we say hanging a hat on
Exactly.
it?
Maybe as a lantern.
As a lantern, yes.
Yeah. And then we see him leaving and going to Eros, which not a lot of shows would show that kind of a tracking shot there at the end with him on the transport with all the families and just a quiet scene of him leaving instead
With
of there
his
being
talisman.
like something big happening. It was just a very quiet scene with him on the transport. Was there anything that you pulled out of the sequence of events, Jesse, that you want to really highlight?
so this is a slow burn. I love that they took the time for that, that he's putting together everything together. It appears, I think it's funny that I guess every time he won something, you just threw him in a drawer instead of cashing out his version of a 401k. And I thought that was an interesting scene to show a way of I'm cutting ties with this part of my life. It was a little weird for him to lose the hat. I I I assume that's a symbolic of him feeling like that was his,
Old life.
yeah, his like his badge, his old life, and now leaving it, he has to move on. I don't know what for sure his plan is and what he's trying to do. I assume he's still going to try to solve this mystery. It it felt like they didn't address more him no longer working for the station and being a police officer.
Tar Heel
I would have,
Security.
yeah, I would have liked a little bit more of discussion on that. His, I would have think his partner would have asked, or his former partner, what the hell's going on? But yeah, it was my least favorite part of the episode, yet I liked it. It wasn't like I was bored with it. I was fascinated by his journey and where he's going. It's just not, the other two were so much better that I didn't.
So, did you hit on the fact that he sees that bird outside the window? It's the
Mhm.
bird that he fed
Oh, I didn't know that.
in another episode. He feeds a
Mm.
bird like right outside his apartment. And I feel like that's his sign that he needs
Ah,
to leave and go find Julie. At least that's what I got from it.
I could
Sure if
see
that's
that.
what they meant to do, but I actually remembered I tried to remember little things because then we learn how to watch things to talk about them.
Yes.
And so when little things happen, I tend to pick up on it. And I kept that in my head. He's feeding a bird. What does that have to do with anything? But they put it in the show. So what are they trying to get across with that? That he cares, and then when I saw this, it harkened back to that for me. And I was like, ah, I see
Okay.
what they did here. So I thought that was a really cool callback to his humanity, maybe, where he doesn't try to keep separated from his feelings.
Okay.
At least that's what I got from it. Let's go to you, Lou.
Yeah, that's interesting point. I kind of took the bird to represent Julie Mao. That he was frustrated with his search of her apartment. I was assumed he was looking for a backup copy of the data cube that he lost,
Yeah, me
and
too.
he was about to throw in the towel, and then that bird showed up, and then that sort of gave him that impetus to continue to search for her. And I also think that's how he kind of sees her as a pretty bird, for lack of a better way to put it. And it the so that's one symbol in those sequence of his scenes. The other one, of course, is the hat, putting up the hat, and he's got his talisman too. He's got Julie Mao's necklace, and he's working at the rosary bead. So it's
Hmm.
again another symbol. So there's a lot going on with him. It's a much quieter, subtle thing. He's been a man with no home, I guess you could say. Like
Yeah.
he's with the hat on. Belters look at him as an earther. Earthers obviously don't treat him as an earther. So he's like in the last of the Mohicans kind of
Hmm.
storyline, I guess you could say. And certain points, story beats will always come back to you later on with a bigger impact that once you see the larger picture of the arc. So I'll just leave it at that. But I do think there's a lot of symbology in this episode, and especially in these two storylines. Not so much the other one. That's more of a straightforward um, mystery kind of storyline, I guess you could say. So I thought that his conversation with Dawes was interesting, but he's still telling Hol or Miller that even though he seems more of a belter now. He still hasn't lost everything, which I found very interesting because he's lost his job. He almost lost his life. He's leaving. What planet are they? Is it Ceres? I can't remember now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
series.
Ceres. He's leaving everything behind. There's not much left that he can lose except what, his life, I guess you could say. So that was an interesting conversation. And again, just like with the two women scenes, I always loved it when Thomas Jane and Jared Harris had scenes together.
Oh, yes.
I think they play off of each other quite well. Harris really embodies that role of a belter. Like I've seen him in so many things. Like he's obviously much more in Foundation, but he always makes a memorable impression whenever he's in something. And what whether it's just happenstance or he's attracted to that kind of work, it always seems to be genre-related science fiction. I know he did a Sherlock Holmes movie, I think, with Robert Downey Jr. too, which
Mm,
was pretty
And
cool.
he
yeah.
was amazing in Mad Men.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Mad Men was a show that I never got into, but
Yeah, he
I've
he
seen some
played
of his
yeah,
scenes.
yeah,
yeah.
he played a an amazing, very complicated part.
Oh, okay. Not surprised. Overall, I do and I really enjoyed revisiting this because I know where his story's going, and it's a bittersweet one because he had a relationship with Octavia. They were lovers, and she still has feelings for him, obviously, but he's trying to find himself. Until he can learn to like himself, he can't really like anybody else, and that's the journey that he's on. So in some ways, he's paralleling Holden's
Sure,
storyline as well.
sure.
So it's interesting, and I love shows that do layered stuff, and the show is really doing a great job at doing that. And of course, then there's the potential of cross storylines that Miller might be hooking up with the crew of the Rocinante, even though, as we find out in this episode, the Rocinante is not really going to Eros to be anyhow. But still,
They're all headed the same way,
yeah, you want
right?
these storylines to converge, and you're
Hmm.
waiting for that. So that's
Yeah,
pretty cool as well.
I agree. There was also, sorry, there was also the comment that he made to Octavia where he says, I never had the best timing. And
Mhm.
I think that says a lot too. I feel like that just that one sentence has layers where he feels like Octavia wants to be with him and he is more fixated on Julie, but also the fact that like he gets fired and he's going to be on this journey and she can't come with him. So I think it means quite a few things when he says that. And she realizes at that point, I can't help him. So I'm going to let him go. And I feel like that also mirrors the storyline on the farm with the lease, where you have to let something go to find themselves. He's late in doing that. He got caught up with this job that he thought would help. Now he's free of it and he's going to go find a part of himself that he's lost. I feel like it is his journey. At least that's what I am taking from it. I'm assuming we're going to get more out of that than those little beats. I also love that they are all headed in the same direction. And we still don't have all the pieces of that even. We did get a few more, like you said, with the Rocinante maybe not going directly to Eros. They're all headed that direction, but we need to know more about their plans. We know they're going to find this Leonard, whatever, which is Julie. At least that's what I think.
Lansky,
What?
Lionel Polanski.
Thank you, Lionel.
I'm
So
blue.
I'm guessing we'll learn a little bit more about that. You did mention that Joe, he feels like he doesn't have a lot to lose except maybe his life, but I think Julie too. He feels like he could lose Julie, even though he's never quote unquote had her. And I'm not talking about in a sexual way. I'm talking about like they've never met. He does feel a connection and he doesn't want to lose that. And I feel like he's hanging on to whatever he can at this point. And
Mm.
he has a mission. I love a guy with a mission. And you said Last of the Mohicans, which I think he was when he was on series. And I now feel like he's more Don Quixote going tilting at windmills, looking for Julie. The title, Windmills, I feel like his story ends up with him on his journey to find whatever he needs to find to right this wrong, essentially.
Or find purpose in his life. Yeah,
Yep.
it's interesting. All the main characters in the show, and including Christian in that, all have problems with authority,
Yep. Yep.
which is interesting.
All of them.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's also funny with Joe that he has huge problems with authority, but then he took that job.
which says a lot
He-
about where he thinks he's at when he leaves.
yeah, he didn't know what he wanted, I
He,
think. I think he just wanted to do
he
the right
became he
thing.
became the very thing he didn't want to be,
And we
right?
see that with Holden too. So let's move to that storyline. I'm queen of the segues in this
Yes, you
episode.
are.
Yep. Holden has that same attitude. He doesn't want to be a leader. We saw that in the very first episode of the season. But he has taken it upon himself to be the de facto leader of the Rocinante. And he really does kind of slot into that role in this episode where he has a beef with Amos through part of this story. Amos is definitely the reactive one of the group. He thinks, but he doesn't think hard enough. Where someone acts without thinking, I think he does actually process what he's going to do. He doesn't just act, but his actions are much more brash than what he should be doing. And Holden doesn't like that. Holden is not a fan of what he decides to do in this episode. He tells Naomi to get him off the ship. He finally tones it down to Naomi, get him under control because he does recognize that Amos has that connection. I adored Alex in this episode. Him talking with the stowaway and connecting the dots because he does have something in common. He knows more about the Mars procedures than all the other people on the ship because he's been there. He's been in
Well, he's from
the
Mars.
Mars Army, the Special Forces or whatever. But he doesn't connect that there's a code that you can give to let people know you're undercover until the spy says something and he connects it. And then there's their mini mission, as it were, to find these codes in order to relay them so that they're out of trouble. The spy, I was surprised to see him on the Rocinante. I thought he was the one that was going to be reporting back to Christian. I don't know, that's not the case. That might still be the case, but he doesn't, as we see at the end of the episode, he does not have any kind of connection. His internet was down, as it were. But yeah, he's an interesting character, and a character as in wonky, quirky kind of character. I kind of like him. Is there something wrong that I like him? I don't know. I keep saying it, but Amos is not endearing himself to me yet. I hear that I'm gonna like him much more. My husband has told me that. By the way, it was pot roast this week that we had.
Very good.
Thank you. It's my turn this next week, so I gotta think of something. I keep going for the charcuterie board, and I think he's probably tired of that. But
So,
yeah, so I really want to know more about Amos and how he's going to soften for me. I don't know if that's going to be the case. Is he always going to be this reactive character? I want to know about more of the spy. Where are we going with him? Holden kind of being out of the loop with what's going on the command deck. I feel like he was not a part of that little mission, that little mini mission. That was all Alex and Naomi at that point. But what I also loved those weird words that he had to say. They weren't donkey balls. So how did they go from donkey balls, which is an actual saying, to these weird three words that had no connection to each other? I also love how the whole countenance of the Mars ship changed into this. Oh, I get it. Hey, you're a buddy now. And they were like, hey, let's keep it careful out there. Happy and jovial at that point, where it didn't seem like they had emotions at all until then. I'm going to start with Jesse again, if that's okay with you, Lou, so that
absolutely.
we get your wrap up. Okay, Jesse.
So my theory is that there is like a database that random words come together. And so the same way, like the nuclear codes change.
Sure.
And so every ship has one and they have a master database to look at that. So that that kind of made sense in the idea that you would have to, there would be security involved in getting that open. I thought that was a nice twist. And you, each time I wonder, is this going to be a new member of our ragtag team? This was an interesting character. Amos is slowly growing on me just because of him willing to do the tough stuff. And it is interesting to me as someone who doesn't want leadership, Holden keeps getting thrown into it, whether he wants it or not. And I I've sometimes joked that I don't have to be the leader of a group, but if no one else wants to, or if I feel like no one else is doing it right, I will step up and do it. If there's someone else who's competent, even if I don't agree with their plans, they, hey, okay, fine, let's go for it. So I wonder if that's a little bit of his. There also is, I think it's The Last Castle, is a James Gandolfini, Robert Redford movie that was fascinating. And the guy who did The Candidate and a couple other movies, they talk about West Point doesn't make leaders, they find them. Like through the
Hmm.
process of Westlink, you find them. And the whole premise is Robert Redford goes to jail. It's a military jail, and he can't help but become a leader in that jail. It's a great movie. It's a fascinating movie. Obviously, Robert Redford and James Gandolfini going against each other. That's going to be really acting gold.
I'll have to
So,
look it up. I
yeah,
love The Candidate.
yeah, I just like the interactions between them. Is Naomi, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, she's nope, nope, hope, them doing all the stuff. And it just, they really have a nice chemistry together. I think they're slowly, from being these four people that were thrown together, they're slowly starting to mesh as a actual team. And I'm a sucker for that. That you end up finding who's your strength, who's your weaknesses, how do my strengths compensate for your weaknesses. Yeah, they really interesting storyline. You knew they would figure out at the last minute, they would get the codes, but I love how they dangled, here is the way. There was enough tension that I didn't feel like cheated when they came up with it. I was like, oh, good. Like that, they showed the way out, and they didn't make it really easy for them. And they got it. And so now you wonder, okay, the spy guy, are they going to keep him around? What are they going to do? And what's next in their mission? So yeah, really good storyline right under the Christian discussion. And so
Yeah.
like I said, I think our lone detective, our Don Quixote character, is certainly an interesting character, but these two beat it for me this time.
Yeah. And I think that the bonding process is long, to be fair,
Yes.
because I do think there's still a lot of friction between them. How did you feel about the 24 character passcode?
Yeah.
Wow.
I, as someone who struggles with remembering passwords and get angry when they go, you can't use your previous used password. Look, I
Yep.
only have three passwords that I rotate with, right? And I should get better at, I used to a long time ago had a place where I wrote down all my passwords or put in an Excel spreadsheet, and someone's, oh, that's not safe. That's not safe. So now I try to remember them. And at 66, I'm like, shit. Was this, did I use my Springsteen reference? Did I use my bourbon reference? Did I use my Doctor Who reference? I don't know.
Yeah.
I use LastPass. It's a thing that saves all
It
your
does? Okay.
passwords, but they're encrypted.
Okay.
So anyway,
I might have thank you for that.
sure.
This podcast brought to you by LastPass.
LastPass.
Have trouble remembering your passwords? Use
God, I
Last.
wish we could. I would also sponsor
Sponsor time.
Backblaze.
Yeah.
Backblaze is great if you want to do backups on your computer. Anyway, let's go to you, Lou.
Yeah, I think this section of the episode is showing the highlighting the differences between the characters, especially Amos and Holden. They're opposite ends of the spectrum. Amos is a pragmatist, and Holden is an idealist, and that was really plainly presented in the show of how they were both approaching the boarding by the Martian skiff. And the 24-digit encryption code was, I think, was a nice wink to the standard trope of, oh, we're going to figure out this code, but like 24 digits,
No,
they're just blatantly saying to you, there's no way that they're going to figure out the code. So they have to do
no,
something else. So that creates,
trillions,
yeah, that
trillions.
creates a nice
Yeah,
tension there. This is the only section of the episode that's really on a clock. So that they're going back to the red wire, blue wire was really what it was, in
yep,
essence, type of scene. But they really used the science fiction world setting to gussy that part of the storyline up. So I thought that was well done. The confrontation between Amos and Holden also emphasized Holden's, what we learned from the visit from Christian with his mother, really just crystallized that he is an idealist and rubs against authority. So I thought that was really well illustrated here. The spy, who is Kenzo Gabriel, I like some of these names they come up with. Kenzo,
I
like
know.
whoever would ever think of a name like that? He's got that cool eye implant thing, so you see it every once in a while. But like you said, Karen, he's got no Wi-Fi, so
Mhm.
he's kind of limited to the space he's working within, because we saw him he hacked equipment to send a message. Then was trying to hack the door lock on the airlock. He's a smooth talker. He's obviously very nimble and on his feet. But he was initially assigned to spy on Fred Johnson, and then he was to spy on Holden and Naomi. So his motives seem pretty clear. He's really working hard to not be spaced, but he's doing it in a elevated fashion. So he's not like a whiny, oh, please don't kill me, please don't kill me. He's able to get into the Holden's head a little bit and say, if you're going to do this, then at least have the courage to tell me to my face before you do it, kind of thing. So he's a good judge of character.
Yeah.
And he's saying, like with Amos, that guy should be spaced because he's not controllable. So he's really good at planting seeds of doubt and mistrust amongst the crew members. You wanted to say something, Jesse?
Yes, I did. He is Christian's spy, right? When she's mentioning, I
Yeah.
can't get a hold of it, I assume that's him, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay, good.
Initially, he's the spy. He was a spy for the guy with the black hair on Earth that
the
Christian
other
keeps
guy.
that
Yeah,
Christian keeps talking to. I can't. Is
Okay,
that is
yeah,
that
the
that
yeah, yeah.
Davilia? Especial?
And right, Aaron Wright,
Aaron Wright.
Aaron Wright.
Aaron Wright. Yeah.
Yeah,
So that spy was initially Aaron Wright's spy, but
okay,
he lent him out to Christian for this stuff that was going on with the Holden and Fred Johnson.
grudgingly,
Yes.
okay.
grudgingly lent him out. But while I feel like it's cut and dry on Earth with him lending him out, I don't know where we're at with him on the Rocinante. You know what?
Right.
He doesn't have Wi-Fi, like we said. What is his loyalty? Yeah, he seems like someone that is scrappy, like trying to hack everything, trying to prove that he could be useful so they don't space him. I really feel like he's an interesting character, and it would bum me out if he's only in 2 episodes or something. I'll get over it. But I have a feeling he's not going to be the next member of the ship. But I would love it if he
I
would throw in with them.
I would say as a blanket statement, one of the show's many strengths is its ability to create interesting characters,
Yeah,
regardless
And
of how
then
long they're on their show.
yeah,
it just if they're one time or not, they're just
Yes.
there when we need them. Okay,
yeah,
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 but they're always interesting.
yeah,
So
I agree.
always.
unless they're like thugs or something like that, but that doesn't really
Sure.
matter. But yeah, if there are anything that has to do with the plot or a revelation about characters, and the actors that you get to play those roles are usually memorable. So that's pretty cool. The other interesting thing is there still seems to be a confusion over the power dynamics on the ship. Holden has not. I think he did initially, but that was kicked back because Amish certainly doesn't treat him as the commander. He's only beholden to Naomi, and
Even
but
less after it was revealed that Holden was responsible for the camp being
right,
blown up. Yeah.
yeah. So there's still that power structure is still in flux, and it needs to be resolved. I would say though that there was a not exactly a meeting of minds, but there's a layer of the communications between Holden and Naomi that is starting to form. They're respecting each other's talents, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out going forward. Beyond that, the Kenzo character, for me, even on rewatch, I still take him as being beholden to who's ever paying. He's a mercenary. The other thing I wanted to touch on that you mentioned, Karen, was with Alex when he was talking with the Mars skiff. Reminded me of Han Solo and the Death Star with the
Yep.
"How are you doing? We're all fine down here,"
Hmm.
kind of
Yep.
conversation. So I
How
thought
are
that,
you,
how
right?
are you?
It's like,
Yeah, yeah. So I thought that was a
Although
nod. Whether that was intentional or not, I don't know.
he's more jovial about it.
Yes,
Hey guys, how you doing?
yeah. He almost sounds like you should be a radio DJ or something.
Yeah, very much so. I
So,
also love, little side note, Kenzo, the guy who plays Kenzo, he has done voices for video games.
oh,
I'll
okay.
bring this up whenever, Deus Ex being one of them.
Oh,
So
Elias Tofu X. That's it.
Tofu,
Tofu?
is that
Tofu
his
X?
name? To
Toufexis.
Tofuexis. Tofexis.
Toufexis.
Yeah, I
Toufexis.
don't know how to pronounce that.
Yeah,
I'm
he's a
just gonna say
Canadian.
Kenzo.
Canadian boy.
Yep. Yeah. There's a lot of Canadians on this show.
Yeah,
A
since it was
lot.
filmed in Toronto, I believe,
Yeah.
for the most part. Yeah.
It's very cool.
Mm.
I personally, all my life, having grown up watching Second City TV, SCTV, and shows like that, Kids in the Hall, I feel like there's so much talent that comes out of Canada. It's not even funny how much talent comes out of Canada. A big tip of the hat to your native country, Lou.
Yeah.
Huge talents.
Yeah.
A lot of comedians. A lot
Yes.
of comedians.
Yeah. Some pretty good musicians too.
True. Very
Yeah.
true. And
Um,
actors. We got
yeah.
Ryan Reynolds. We got,
William Shatner, Norm
yeah,
Green,
what's his
Glenn
name
Ford.
from Castle?
Oh
Why am
God.
I blanking?
Same here.
Nathan Fillion.
Nathan Fillion. Yep. Yeah. She's not gonna blank
Why
on
was
his
I
name.
blanking?
So
Yeah, just so many.
yeah. So we're winding down the episode, and it's interesting that Aaron Wright has ordered a hit on Holden. Karen, are you hung?
Am I
Hello?
what?
Oh,
Hello?
you were caught mid pose for a couple of
Oh, I'm
seconds.
sorry.
No, no worries. Now you're back. So Aaron Knight has ordered a hit on Holden, and that sets up a nice hook for the next episode. But everybody's wrong about where the Rocinante is heading to, so I like that as well.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
I love that. We're getting this kind of mystery storyline that there's sometimes a big part of science fiction genre, but I think in this case they're downplaying it almost. Hey, it's a mystery, but shh, it's not really, it's science fiction. I love it because we do get that noir feel from Joe's storyline, and
yeah.
now he's hung up that hat, so less noir maybe in the future.
That's in his genes. I don't think so.
Okay. So it's his DNA that's
Yeah,
gonna,
yeah.
yeah, it's a very noir thing to have a touchstone as well, like he has in this, the necklace.
Talismans are powerful devices in fiction in general.
Yeah,
You can go
very
through
cool.
many stories where people have an object of power that they hang on to
Right.
or rely on.
Am in love with the show so far. I think it's fascinating that every storyline in it is worth watching. You can't say that about a lot of genre shows. Some storylines are all set up and no punch, but I feel like this is one of those shows that's gonna bang on all cylinders. So I'm really looking forward to the coming storylines.
Yeah.
Any wrap up for you, Jesse?
yeah, this has been just a fun journey. I I really am looking forward to that. This is a long series, so we have a lot of story left to tell. So I'm excited to see where we're going. We're now, at least for me, I'm in this deep enough that I know the characters.
Hmm.
Now I'm starting to understand them a little more and to build kind of confidence and a little bit of familiarity of how they're going to behave, but not in a way where I'm not going to be surprised, just, oh, I'm starting to know these characters, which I'm very happy about.
How about you,
Awesome.
Lou?
No, I think I've given away everything I want to give away at this point.
Okay. And
Mhm.
I forgot to mention there's a little beat with the guy from Eros calling Joe,
Yes,
his
saying
friend
that this
from the
skiff, yeah,
semi,
that there's a
whatever it is.
shuttle from that sh ship
Right.
that's
So,
still in docking, but it ends behind on its payments.
yep. So he has another line to follow here.
Yep.
And I thought that was cool that we get to see how he's friends with someone instead of just being sandpapery with
Mhm.
someone. And I really hope Dawes is going to be part of a storyline coming back. I
Mhm.
hope, at least, because now that Joe's off series, what are we going to see there? I'm assuming series is still going to be part of the show with the Belters and all that. So let's
Yeah.
keep our fingers crossed, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
No, and this is a very fascinating world. And so you wonder absolutely where we're going to move, right? Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it's one of those where I'm like, I'm pointing here, and then all of a sudden it points over there. And
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that I sometimes go to the end of a book to see where it ends up so that I know I'm not going to do that here because that is not our thing. But that it indicates my curiosity that I really want to know what's going on. And yeah, this show is doing it for me for
Well, you could
sure.
always read the books, Karen.
Not going to happen.
They're
I will at
humongous.
some point.
They're
I will at some point.
humongous.
Yeah, yeah. But I don't want to spoil anything. That's the fun of
Well,
talking to
they
you.
would take you a couple of days to read all of them. There's
Maybe.
7 volumes. There's about
I
a
don't know.
thousand pages each, whatever.
A
So,
weekend. Okay. With that, I'm gonna leave it there and we'll pick up with episode 8 next week. What's it called? Salvage.
mhm.
So with that, I'll go around the table. You can email us at jklmediareviews@gmail.com. I am at Eleveria on social media, Aleveria, and my blog is alliestuff.com. Lou, let's go to you.
Of course, you can find us on our flagship YouTube channel, JKL Media Reviews, where you'll find our ongoing reviews for this series, The Expanse, as well as Pluribus, which we're currently doing. And when there's not something new and hot at the moment, we tend to go back into the archives and find shows or musics or books or comics that we all find interesting and talk about them. And we've done quite a few of them, and I hope you check those out. As well, you can find my other YouTube channel is Lou's Reviews, where we have our archived episodes of Babylon 5 plus the animated movie. It's really a JKL media production, but I didn't feel like moving all those episodes over, so I've left them there. And you can check those out, as well as I have my Stephen King podcast and the writers interview podcast that I do there, and on Twitter and X. Or Blue Sky, you can find me at Lou W. Sytsma, Sytsma.
Thanks, Lou. Let's go to you, Jesse.
I am at Jesse Jackson DFW on Twitter X. I certainly would appreciate if you go over to Set Lusting Bruce and check out some of the episodes I've done talking about with people from around the world about their favorite musicians. We are still doing Perfectly Good podcast where Sylvan Groth and I are going through every John Hyatt song in alphabetical order. We are finishing up the M's. So we're about halfway through the alphabet. And of course, Next Stop Everywhere, where we talk Doctor Who, me and friend of the podcast, Charles Skaggs.
As someone that does a lot of alphabetizing, you're not halfway through because you still got S and T, and those are huge. Those usually have more than.
Song wise, we are about half,
Okay.
just by the number of songs he did. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. And I highly urge you guys to go over to Set Lusting Bruce because it's not all about Springsteen. It He touches on a lot of topics that are relevant to anyone. And I especially recommend where his son interviews Jesse, and it's such a
Yeah, that was
great
good. That was a great
conversation.
episode.
Yeah,
Thank you. I appreciate it. I will tell Chris that.
awesome.
I'm trying to get him back.
Yes, please do.
Yeah,
Let him
I
know
will.
that we mention him on the
I
podcast.
will do that.
So
That
with
will
that,
make him very happy.
I'm gonna say goodbye, and we'll talk to you next week. Tilted some windmills, everyone.
Absolutely. Bye.
Bye
Take care. Bye
bye.
bye. And scene.
The proceeding has been a JKL Media production.